This one drill fixed thin and fat shots for good. Hi, my name is Justin Klambala and I am the founder of Breaking Bogeys, where we are transforming people's games every single day. If you'd like to go to our website at breakingbogeys.com, you can see the transformations that we've had with all of our students and something that we could possibly do for you as well in the future. Are you still chunking and thinning golf shots? This one drill fixed it for my students faster than anything else. The key is ball first contact. We have to achieve ball first contact. That is where the club comes in, it hits the ball first, and then the ground second. If you are hitting the ground first, that is called a fat shot. And if you are not hitting the ground completely, that is called a thin shot. What this all comes down to is that there's two buckets of concentration. One bucket of concentration that people tend to focus on is how can the golf ball be helped into the air. Almost all bad swing habits come from the root cause of you trying to help the ball go into the air. Now I understand that being the main cause of what we're trying to do, because in reality, golf success is measured by the ball getting airborne. So I understand that that is definitely the number one goal for all of you out there, and it's definitely my goal as well when it comes to being a successful golfer, is to get the golf ball airborne. So there is a very tempting feeling to want to help the ball get up into the air. The thing is that we have to ignore or resist the temptation to want to help the ball go up into the air. The other bucket of concentration is that we need to make a strike where the club lands ahead of the golf ball. The club has to hit the ground, and it has to hit the ground ahead of the golf ball. So the key is that if you can allow your mind to focus more and prioritize more of hitting the ground ahead of the golf ball, and don't allow your desire to hit the ball in the air to win the battle, and the hitting the ground can stay the higher priority, you will hit this spot and you will hit the most solid shots of your life. The bullseye of golf is hitting the ground ahead of the golf ball. It is not the golf ball itself. One of the interesting things is that we've always been historically told that if you keep your eye on the ball or keep your head down, you will play better golf. But the golf ball is not the common denominator of great golf shots. When you hit fat shots, when you hit thin shots, and when you hit topped shots, all of those involve hitting the ball. So you still hit the ball in all of those. And when you hit the ground in front of the ball, you also hit the ball, but those are good golf shots. But that means that the ball itself is not the common denominator of great golf shots, because we still hit the ball even on bad golf shots. So keeping our eye on the ball or trying to hit the ball is not really the key to success. However, hitting the ground ahead of the golf ball, having the club land here, you have no choice but to hit great golf shots. If the club lands there, you will hit a great golf shot every single time. So let's get into the drill that will help you hit that ground out in front. The first key is that you have to hit the ground in front on a practice swing with these 3 balls in a row first. And the reason why I want these 3 balls here is because it's going to allow you to have a point of reference when you are taking your practice swings. So as you see here, when I'm taking my practice swings, I swing back and through, and I'm noticing where I'm hitting the ground in relationship to the line. So I swing back, swing through, and I'm noticing where I'm hitting the ground in relationship to the line, and I want that to be out in front of the ball, or in front of this particular line. Your first job is to hit the ground in front 5 times in a row. So I'm gonna give it a shot right now. That's 1. That's 2. Also notice each time that I'm taking these practice swings, I'm coming to a full finish. This is a crucial key to good contact. Good contact has to come to this full finish coming through. We want speed coming through the ball, and we need our weight transfer to come to our left side, which allows hitting the ground in front of the ball to happen a lot more efficiently. So I'm hitting the ground with a lot of speed and coming through to a nice full finish. That's 4 in a row. And then finally 5 in a row. So I got to 5 in a row very, very quickly. My guess is that when you are at home trying this particular drill, you will get to 5 in a row much, much quicker. Why? Because once again, we have 2 buckets of concentration. One is trying to help a ball go in the air. The other one's focusing on trying to hit the ground in front of the ball. On a practice swing, there is no ball to go up into the air. So it's very easy to keep the full concentration of hitting the ground out in front. Once you can do 5 in a row, we're now going to step up to this ball here and we're going to strike this golf ball. But we're not thinking about hitting the golf ball. We're once again trying to get the club to land in front. And if you're doing this on a grass range, you'll be able to see your divot in relationship to these other 2 balls. So when you start to strike golf balls with this drill, these 2 balls have to always stay here. Okay, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm setting up to the ball, I'm about to hit the shot, but I'm just trying to hit the ground in front of this ball, which I just proved to myself that I could do 5 times in a row. So it should be no problem here as long as my concentration stays hitting that ground out in front. So yes, the club did hit the ground out in front of the ball. I did hit a very, very nice pure golf shot. I'm now going to pull another ball, and notice once again, I put the ball in line with the other 2. So that way I can use the other 2 balls as a point of reference. Once again, concentration's out in front of the ball. I'm going to take a confident swing and notice my finish. I'm coming through to a nice full finish where I'm finishing through to my target. 2 in a row. Pull another ball, concentration out in front, big confident swing. Now that one there, I did not hit the ground. I missed hitting the ground and I caught it a little thin. So I would have to go back to 0. So my record so far is 2 golf balls in a row where I hit the ground in front, but the 3rd one there, I missed the ground, which is a thin golf shot. So I would go back to 0 and I'd restart my count. I pull another ball and I go on. So low point control is where the club is bottoming out when you're about to go hit a golf shot. And whenever the ball is on the ground, we talked about divots earlier on whether you take divots or whether you don't. Great players will always contact the ground at some level ahead of the golf ball, whether that's actually a pellet of grass coming out of the ground or whether they're just simply just brushing the grass, but it always has to be out ahead of the golf ball. So if this was a line in between my feet and I was hitting a ball towards 3 o'clock on my clock here, when we come back and we come through, that club has to hit the ground out in front of that line. If it's hitting behind the line, we call that a fat shot in golf. If we don't hit the ground at all, we call that a thin shot, where the club comes in and hits the equator of the golf ball and it doesn't feel very solid. So what we see typically when people are great players is that we see a lot of times a lot more weight being pushed into this left side so that we can get the center of mass to be ahead of the ball so that the golf club is now bottoming out ahead of the golf ball. When we see people that are not hitting the ball as purely, we usually see a lot of times weight going into the back foot. And I think it comes down to either one of 2 intentions. Are you intending to try to hit the ground out in front of the golf ball, or are you intending to try to help the ball go up in the air? And in golf, we know that when the ball gets airborne and it goes up in the air, that's a successful shot. When the ball does not get airborne and it runs along the ground, that is a failed golf shot in golf. And a lot of logic would tell me that this type of a look would look like it would help the ball go up into the air. But what's one cool thing about our golf club, and this is sometimes a lot better for visuals, is that this golf club is already designed to hit the ball into the air. Now, most of you might shake your head and you might consciously already know that, yes, this club is built to go into the air. But I think a lot of people have subconscious habits that are built into them that they think that this club does need our help to get the ball up into the air, which then causes people to get into these kind of bad habits of leaning into the back foot or the arms and wrist breaking down in order to help the ball go up into the air. Now, that's two ways to miss a shot if you're not compressing the ball correctly, is that you're either hitting the ground behind the ball or we're missing the ground completely. If you want help building a full practice plan around this kind of improvement, visit breakingbogeys.com. I work with players one-on-one. Let's break bad golf together.